Today's tech tip is all about Google Forms quizzes, part 2. In this section, we will add on to what we did last week by talking about how to assign this in Google Classroom and import those grades immediately, and how to create a Google Form quiz that you do need to manually score. So using what I learned last week, I have created a quiz in a Google Form. I've added a couple things. I've added the last name and class period in case I would like to do something with that in the results spreadsheet. I have a couple questions I've answered, a multiple choice, a checkbox example, a drop-down example, and then a short answer. And just to remind you how we do an answer key for short answer, you put in all possible answers that you think students might give that you would accept as correct. The parameters on this sheet, I'm going to go under settings. I do want to collect their email addresses. I must do that if I want to use it in conjunction with Google Classroom. I'm limiting it to one response, and I am not letting students edit after submit. Under the quizzes section, I've made this a quiz, and because it's an instant score, I'm going to immediately release the scores after they submit it. I'm allowing students to see all the details of their score. So now I'm in my Google Classroom. I've created an assignment and I've called it Google Forms Self-Scoring Practice. I'm going to go to my drive and find that form. Now I've been a couple places, so it might take me a second to find it. I think this is an example of instant scoring. There it is. I'm going to add it. Notice when you add it, you do get to check Enable Grade Importing. So I'm going to check Enable Grade Importing, and you'll see how that works in a few minutes. And I'm going to assign this to my students. So now I've pushed this out to students, and they've taken the test. I have 2 that are done. So I'm going to click on the assignment as a teacher. I see that 2 students are done. I can click Import Grades, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to? And you say yes. And while this is importing, there we go. So 2 students have taken it. 1 got a 4 out of 5, 1 got a 5 out of 5. It's worth 5 points total, based on the parameters I put in the Google form. Now I can take these results and I can transfer them over to Skyward. I can 10 key them in, or whatever I want to do with it. If it's a formative assessment, I'm not going to actually put in the grade book. At least the students have a response to it. But I still want to see which ones they missed. So I'm going to view responses in forms. And click on responses. It takes me to my quiz. Now responses, they just added this question feature this week. It wasn't there last week when I did this. So I can look at a summary of responses. This is a great thing to throw up on the board. Students will not see the names. They'll just see how many people answered it. And so we can see the correct answers. It makes a nice graph, creates great discussion. Now I can even still see the results in a spreadsheet form. So if I go to the top of the page over here, I have my spreadsheet icon. Now I'm in my spreadsheet and I can see the students' answers, and they've added a score column that gives me their score of the number achieved out of the number possible. Now I have a second quiz I've created that includes some hand scoring questions, like some essay questions or a short answer question that Google will not score for me. So in order to set this one up, the only parameters that I've changed over here under settings is under quizzes. I do not want to release it immediately after submission, because the ones I have to hand score, it won't give any points to, and their score will definitely look bad. So I want to submit it later after manual review. I've gone ahead and kept the same questions for my short form. And I've added a linear scale question. This one doesn't let you give a possible answer, but I can click on it, and in the answer key, I can still say, even though I can't choose an answer, I can still say it's worth 1 point. So when I hand score it, I'll be able to assign a point. For my long answer, I want them to give me at least 5 sentences. So if I click on the answer key, and this is going to be like the 5-point question for this quiz. So now I've pushed out an assignment to students for hand scoring practice using the same things that I had done with the other one, where I went into my drive and I found the quiz, the Google form I wanted to assign, and I made sure Enable Grade Importing was checked. I'm just not going to import their grades till after I hand score. I've had 2 students already take the quiz. So before I import the grades, I want to view responses and forms. And it's loading my responses that 2 students have answered. I can again look at the summary. I can look at an individual's answers, but for hand scoring, I want to go by question. So I had 2 questions that I needed to hand score. So I'm going to use this little drop down here, and I need to score the linear scale question and the long answer question. So here they gave an answer, they get a point, I check it right. The next one, they gave me an answer, that's correct. Save, I've graded that question. Now I come down, and my long answer, I was looking for 5 sentences, and this one gave me 1 sentence. It's going to be correct, but I don't want them to get 5 points. I'll say, well, maybe I'll say it's wrong, and I'll give them 1 point, because they only gave me 1 sentence. This one, they just said I don't have one, they get no points. And click Save. Now I've gone through and graded everything that I would like to score. So I'm going to go back into Classroom. Now I import their grades. And there's their scores. They both did very poorly on that quiz. If I go back into my responses, I can go individually and look at an entire quiz, question by question. If I find that I made a mistake, like maybe this one I want to go ahead and give them credit for, I can go in here and say, yes, you get 1 more point. I saved the response. And then when I go back and I re-import the grades, you'll notice this student's grade should go up by 1 point. And it did. So one other way that I can look at this, again, is in the spreadsheet view. It was taking a while to record last time. We'll see if they show up in this one. Still working on it. Well, when they do finally show up, the scores show up right here, and this spreadsheet will update as you save those updated scores. And there's 2 different ways then to use Google Forms to push out to students in Google Classroom and then import those grades straight to Classroom.